Alright, can I have one done tonight? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J. Spirits of I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And the topic gonna be finding sanctuary. Sit at the table like one of the kings. Now they're gonna be on Jonathan's side. Finding sanctuary is find ways to experience healing and peace in the midst of the world that often telling us to hide from our pain. We can't hide from our pain. We have to have healing. We have to deal with the pain itself. We can't hide from it. It only make it worse when you hold it in and don't try to heal yourself. I'm still trying to heal myself. So this server gonna be by Jonathan's son. He gonna be disabled. And he still gonna find sanctuary in his situation. He gonna find peace and he gonna live his life the best way he can being disabled. So he was 5 years old, when his father, Jonathan, and his grandfather, Saul, was killed in battle. Now, when his nurse heard about this, she hurried up and grabbed the child and she fled. She ran. In the mix of running, he fell down. And when he fell down, he became to be crippled and limb in both of his feet. So for the rest of his life. But Miss, I can't pronounce his name. His name is a long way, and I've been practicing it all day long. I've been practicing it all day long. Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth. You know, Mephibosheth. That's his name. It's a long name. So, in the mix of this here, so sometime I'm gonna say Jonathan's son. He found sanctuary in his situation growing up. He was growing up with his nurse. The nurse took good care of him. But later on, he will sit at the table like one of the kings. No matter what his situation is. At the end, it's gonna always be restored. So 2 Samuel chapter 4:4. Jonathan had a son, who was lame in both feet. Now he was 5 years old when the news about Saul, his grandfather, and his father was killed in battle. Now his nurse picked him up, flee, but as she hurried to leave, he fell and became disabled, for the rest of his life. And that was Jonathan's son. So now he flee with his nurse. So now he with his nurse. And he's 5 years old. And he took on a lifestyle, of a virtue, hiding from the public. He had to hide from the public, because they would have killed him too. Because they killed everybody in Saul's bloodline. So Jonathan's son, been hiding since 5 years old. And now he is grown, who suffered much physical and emotional growing up. This is a child that went through so much at 5 years old. The father and his grandfather was killed. And then everybody else in the family was killed because, they came to kill Saul's whole bloodline. But they didn't even realize Jonathan's son because the nurse hurried up and grabbed him. So now he is hiding from the public, and his nurse, had provided safety and learned him about faith for hard time. Now his nurse give him the tools to live like being thankful, that he was just disabled but living life walking far taller than most men. So he didn't let his disabled stop him. He still was living that life. Living a simple life, the best way he can, and had the nurse guide him. She never had no kids, so she loved the Jonathan. That was his nurse. So now we see that this nurse loved this boy, raised him until he got grown. So this boy did not, let his disabled stop him from living life. Now all David know is that everyone in Saul bloodline is dead. That's what he thinks. So David don't know that Jonathan's son is alive. Cause David loved Jonathan. Them two made an oath. Them two they was real close. They loved each other. And David loved Jonathan, and he would love Jonathan's son also. So Saul had property. Do Saul? Saul was rich. So Saul was one of God's disciples, who God the one had handpicked Saul. So he had property, he had land, he had a lot of stuff. But David don't know who to give it to. To honor he wants to honor his friend Jonathan. So 2 Samuel chapter 9, 1 through 13, it's gonna say David asks, is there anyone still left in the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for on the behalf of Jonathan's sake? So there was a servant of Saul, household, Zebin. So David replied, is there anyone still alive, in the house of Saul to whom I can show God kindness? So Jonathan's son, was the last survivor in a line of his grandfather, King Saul. So Saul's servant is still alive. They didn't kill his servant or nothing like that. They just killed everybody in Saul's bloodline. So Saul's servant had answered and said, there is still a son, Jonathan's son. He's still alive, but he limped in both of his feet. So he's at the house. He at the house at some kind of hill, and David said, bring him here. Bring him here. Now this boy, being 5 years old, had emotional and physical, who pretty much all his life. But the nurse made sure he didn't become better. He was disabled, and he had to live a simple life, and he had to deal with his disabled, from falling down. But now this boy here, he about to be rich. He about to be rich from being a simple life, being disabled, up into being a rich man, and also not only be rich, but he gonna be sitting at the table with kings. David said every day. Every day you're going to eat with me at this table. And no kings sit at the table with David and eat. And he going to feel uncomfortable. He going to like somebody like me. So the son arrived. So they said, go get him. So the son arrived to David. And he bowed down to pay him honor. Because the nurse trained him very well. He is very respectful because of his nurse. She trained him. And he bowed down. And he was afraid. Because he don't know what David want. He don't know. They come and get him and tell him, oh, David wants you. So when he did arrive, he was scared. He was afraid. So David said, don't be afraid. David said, I will surely show you kindness, for the sake of your father, Jonathan. So David said, I will restore to you all the land that belongs to your grandfather, Saul, and you will always eat at my table. Now just see how God works. This boy, 5 years old, experienced so much heartaches, and he had to live a normal life, had to deal with his disabled, and now all of a sudden, David called for him. Now he nervous and he afraid. He don't know what David wants. But now David is speaking to him. David said, all I want to do is show you kindness. Show you kindness. I want to restore everything that belongs to you. Because see, David loved the Jonathan, and now his son is still alive. And so because David wanted to give all this stuff to someone and show kindness to someone. And it is a blessing that is Jonathan's son. He said, I want to restore everything that belongs to you, from your grandfather. You will always eat at my table. You're going to always eat at this table every day, and you're going to get everything that belongs to you. So the son bowed down and said, you know, what a servant, that you should notice someone like me, a dead dog. Now he look at himself as a dead dog. So now he having so low self-esteem, because of his disabled. He feel out of place. He feel like he's not worthy. Now they were telling him, you about to be rich. I'm about to restore everything that belongs to you. And not only is restore everything that belongs to you, you're gonna eat at this table every day. Eat at this table every day. Number kings be at that table every day. He think he out of place. A lot of times God will pick an ordinary person, and turn their life upside down for the better. Look what he did Mary. He picked Mary out in the field. She was a virgin. And so he picked Mary and put Jesus in him. Jesus, somebody that's history about to change the whole world. God will pick an ordinary person. He ain't gonna pick nobody that's Hollywood. He gonna pick an ordinary person and turn their life around. He will restore everything back to you. Everything back to you. And it was a blessing that is Jonathan's son that's still alive in that bloodline. David said, I'm about to restore everything that belongs to you. And you're going to sit at this table and eat every day. Every day you're going to eat at this table. And you're going to sit at this table among all these kings. He said, I'm going to sit at this table like a king. Yeah, you're going to sit at this table like a king. Because you're about to be rich. You're about to have servants. Your servants can stay here. Your children can stay here. So he about to have servants. And he already have children. David said, bring them all on. So David summoned servant. I have and David told him that I had given the master grandson everything that belongs to Saul, and his family. You and your sons and your servant are to farm the land for him. So he may provide, for the son will always eat at my table. Now he letting Saul's servant, he letting him know that I give everything that belongs to Saul to his grandson. And I also give him an invitation to sit at this table every day. Because see, the servant thought he was gonna get everything. That was Saul's servant, so he thought he was gonna get everything. It's luckily that he told him that someone in the bloodline was still alive, because he was the next best thing to Saul. So now the son, got an invitation to eat at David's table, like one of the king's sons. So the son had said, he said, eat at your table, like one of the king's sons. I'm gonna be like one of the king's sons. He got to fit in. Because see, a lot of time, God will bless an ordinary person. And a lot of time that ordinary person feel like they don't fit in and feel like they're not worthy. But they were trying to make him comfortable. You gonna eat here every day. So he said, well, I'm gonna sit like a king son at this table every day. Yeah, he feel like he's not worthy to sit at that table with the rest of the kings. You are worthy. And the son lived in Jerusalem because he always ate at the table with David. So and he ain't had nothing to go home to no more because the nurse hadn't died. So he moved in Jerusalem close to going by David's house every day to eat. He had a free meal every day. So he was lame in both of his feet. But now we see that he is about to be rich. About to own everything that his grandfather owned. Now David's about to restore all to him, showing kindness to him due to the love of his father Jonathan. Not only see David made an oath to his father Jonathan. Even after that, David is still sticking to that oath. He's still sticking to it. And a lot of us, we make an oath with our friends and stuff. As soon as they die, you spilling all the beans. But not David. David loved the Johnson. They made an oath about all kinds of stuff, and he's sticking to it. Even though Jonathan not here, he's still sticking to it. And it's a blessing that his son is still alive. He's still showing the love and the kindness to his son. So now, not only he about to own the land, but he about to eat at the table among kings every day. The son, the sanctuary. He find the sanctuary in his life, in his own palace, because the relationship David has with his son. He found peace in the sanctuary, his situation growing up. The nurse trained him very well and learned him a whole lot of stuff to how to cope with his situation. So now the son situation is in the palace. David welcomed him as an honored guest at his own table. Now he's special. He don't think he's special. He don't think he's worthy to sit at the table. But David gave him an invitation and honor him as a guest to sit at this table. Now the son had to know that he are worthy. Because earlier on he had said, you notice someone like me, like a dead dog, you have to realize you worthy. We all are worthy. I want all y'all to just think of, look in the mirror. Don't never think you're not worthy. We are God's child. God don't make a mess. He make a masterpiece. So we all are worthy. Now he thought he was not worthy. He thought he was not worthy enough to sit at the table with kings. Number kings sit at that table. And he think he not worthy. We all are worthy. And when God bless us, we have the right to sit at the table with superstars, kings and queens. You worthy to do that. So the son had to know that he is worthy. We are a child of God. We are a child of God. Now the son went from the son went from being disabled, living a simple life, to become to be rich and sitting at the table among kings. He was living a simple life, hiding out from the public, trying to manage the idea that he's disabled. And the nurse kept him from being bitter. Anybody be bitter and angry. Your parents, both of your parents is gone, and then you cripple in both of your feet. Lucky he had somebody that loved him and kept him grounded. So he was disabled, living a simple life. The simple life went to being rich and sitting at the table with kings every day. Every day. And he had low self-esteem. He thought he wasn't worthy enough to sit with special people. God will bless an ordinary person, a unique person that's different. That's how God operates. He felt like he was different. And then he was being rich. He owned property, he owned land. He said now he got servants working for him and everything else. So one, he lost his father and his grandfather the same day as being 5 years. He was 5 years old. He hid from the public. Now this is a young boy, 5 years old, had to experience all this stuff. Because when they killed his father and his grandfather in battle, they killed everything in Saul's bloodline. Lucky the nurse hurried up and grabbed him and left. Even though his legs got limbs, he was still alive to be a blessing. So too, the nurse flew with him, and he become crippled and lame in both of his feet. But he still lived, without being bitter, because the nurse, helped comfort him and train him. Now he was the only one alive in Saul's bloodline to receive everything that Saul owned. Now David found out that he alive and he wanted to show kindness and honor him. So David also wanted to restore everything that belongs to him. The land, the property, and etc. Now David also gave him an invitation to sit at the table like one of the kings. When he thought he wasn't worthy. Somebody like me, a dead dog. So I'm gonna be sitting at the table like a king's son. Yes, yes. They never take your word. You can sit at the table with kings. You can sit at the table with queens. You can sit at the table with a producer, a director. You can sit at the table with a superstar. God will bless ordinary, unique people. That feel like they can't fit in. But God wants us to fit in. He wants us to fit in. He wants us to sit at the table. Sit at the table like queens. Sit at the table like kings. You're going to feel a little uncomfortable for a while, but get used to it. Because this how your life going to be for the rest of your life. And so David also gave him an invitation to sit at the table like one of the kings. And the son is rich, and he always sit at the table every day and eat a good meal among the kings. And you see how God works. You see how God had changed this boy's life. God knows this boy had fell down and hurt himself. God knows that he tried his best to live a normal life, and he did. God knows that he wasn't bitter and angry, because the nurse kept him grounded. The nurse comforted him, encouraged him. She provided everything for him to live that simple life, to keep him from being bitter. Because anybody would have got bitter. You don't know your father, your mama, your grandfather. You lost everything. But then God put pieces together in his life, in his heart. And give him everything he needs, that he don't have to want for nothing else for the rest of his life. He would have blessed the nurse, but the nurse hadn't died. Remember, he had to leave her there and went see what David wanted. But then she died before he even could come back home to tell her the good news. So when God bless you, don't never think you're not worthy. Don't think you're not worthy to just sit at the table with important people. God didn't design us to fit in. He designed us to stand out. So we have the right to sit at the table with directors and producers and any superstar and queens and kings. You could do that. Don't never take your day dog that you're not worthy to sit at the table. Sit at that table. You get an invitation, sit at that table. Don't ask no question. Okay, I can sit here and eat this steak and potato. Oh, okay. Sit at the table, cross your legs and everything else. Not just born to live a simple life and about to live a rich life. Because he didn't cry and he didn't turn bitter or none of that. And God power watched him his whole life. Because he had to run and hide from the public. And God probably was still protecting him. And that probably was, everything is not a coincidence. God, every power was meant for him to get everything that Saul on. And David said, I'm going to give everything to you that belongs to you. The servant thought he was going to get something. The servant wasn't going to get nothing. David, Jonathan's son, he was getting everything. He owned lands, property, and everything. He said, your servant, your children, everybody can stay here. So that's all the word I have for you on today. And always think you worthy. Always think you valid. When somebody tell you to is a high profile, tell you to come sit down, you sit down. You sit down. You worthy. You value. Just little boy here and had experienced so much stuff at 5 years old, you know, and God built his heart, put the pieces in his heart, and bless him where he don't have to ask nobody for nothing. Well provided. You know, so y'all have a blessed night, and I'll see y'all on the next video.